If Christians truly knew their worth, they wouldn't be so afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of disappointing God. Afraid of being seen. Afraid of not being enough. And yet fear lives everywhere among believers. Which raises a dangerous question. What if most Christians don't actually believe what they say about their worth? Daniel had been a Christian for most of his life. He knew the words. He knew the verses. He knew the songs. He knew that humans were made in the image of God. He knew that salvation was by grace. He knew that God loved the world. But knowing something and living as if it's true are not the same thing. Daniel lived as if his worth was fragile. One mistake away from collapse. One failure away from disapproval. One doubt away from distance. He prayed constantly but rarely rested. He served faithfully but always felt behind. He believed in forgiveness but never applied it to himself. He didn't call it shame. He called it humility. No one told Daniel this outright, but he absorbed it anyway. Good Christians are useful Christians, so he tried to be useful. He volunteered more, gave more, stayed later, said yes when he wanted to say no, because somewhere deep inside, he believed something terrifying, that his worth needed to be maintained, that God loved him, but more when he performed well. That grace was real but fragile. That acceptance could be withdrawn. He would never say this out loud, but his life said it clearly. Daniel noticed something uncomfortable. The Christians who talked most about grace often looked the most exhausted. The ones who preached freedom seemed the most controlled. The ones who emphasized humility constantly diminished themselves. They called it dying to self, but it looked suspiciously like self-erasure. And Daniel wondered, if humans are so valuable to God, why do we live as if we're disposable? Daniel had heard it his whole life. You are nothing without God. It was meant to inspire humility. But something about it felt off, because Scripture also said humans were crowned with glory, that they were worth more than sparrows, that God chose them, that He pursued them. So which was it? Nothing. Or worth pursuing at infinite cost? Daniel realized something unsettling. Many Christians confuse dependence with worthlessness. They are not the same. Daniel didn't hate himself, but he didn't trust himself either. Every desire felt suspicious. Every rest felt indulgent. Every confidence felt arrogant. He believed God was patient with him, but not particularly delighted in him. So he obeyed, but didn't enjoy. Served, but didn't celebrate. Believed, but didn't feel safe. That's when the doubt arrived, not about God, about himself. If God values me so deeply, why do I feel so easily replaceable? One night, Daniel thought about the cross, not sentimentally, but logically. If humans are worthless, the cross makes no sense. No one sacrifices everything for something meaningless. The cross wasn't charity. It was commitment. It wasn't God tolerating humanity. It was God declaring something about humanity's value. And that thought made Daniel uncomfortable. Because if humans are truly that valuable, then self-hatred is not humility. It's disagreement. Daniel often heard Christians introduce themselves this way. I'm just a sinner. It sounded humble, but it was incomplete. Yes, humans fail. Yes, they break things. Yes, they need grace. But the story doesn't stop there. Because if sinner is the only identity that matters, then redemption becomes cosmetic. Daniel realized something disturbing. Many Christians cling to guilt because it feels safer than responsibility. If you're worthless, you can't be called to much. If you're broken beyond value, expectations disappear. Worth is dangerous because worth implies purpose. Worth changes how you live. If you believe you are valuable, you don't beg for approval. If you believe you matter, you don't accept abuse easily. If you believe God delights in you, you don't confuse fear with reverence. And that kind of confidence scares religious systems. Because controlled people are easier than free ones, Daniel didn't want rebellion. He wanted honesty. Daniel noticed something striking in Scripture. God asks humans many questions. Where are you? Why are you afraid? Who told you that? But God never asks, why are you so worthless? Humans invented that one themselves. Humility doesn't mean pretending you have no value. It means knowing your value didn't originate with you. Daniel realized he had been shrinking himself, calling it obedience. But shrinking doesn't honor the Creator. Refusing to shine what God shaped is not reverence. It's fear. Ironically, Christians often struggle with worth more than non-believers because they know grace exists, but they secretly believe it had to overcome something disgusting. They see themselves as tolerated, not treasured, saved, but embarrassing, forgiven, but not celebrated. Daniel wondered, what if grace doesn't erase worth, but confirms it? Jesus never acted unsure of his worth. He served, but didn't apologize for existing. He rested without guilt. He confronted without insecurity. He wept without shame. He didn't prove himself. He expressed himself, and he invited others to live the same way. When Christians forget their worth, they accept toxic relationships. They tolerate injustice. They burn out quietly. They confuse suffering with holiness. They obey, but don't flourish. And the world watches and concludes that faith diminishes humanity, which is tragic, because it was meant to restore it. Daniel realized the hardest truth was not, I am broken. It was, I matter more than I'm comfortable admitting, because that meant he was accountable for how he lived, how he treated himself, how he treated others, how he used his time. Worth demanded courage. The doubt that haunted Daniel wasn't trying to destroy faith. It was trying to rescue it. It asked, what if God's view of you is higher than yours? What if your shame is smaller than his intention? What if humility isn't self-hatred, but trust? Not as a slogan, not as a cliché, but as a truth that changes posture. You are not valuable because you behave well. You are not loved because you are useful. You are not tolerated until you improve. You are valued because God chose to value you. Before performance, before correction, before obedience, and everything else flows from that. Daniel didn't become arrogant. He became steadier, less frantic, less ashamed, more honest. The doubt didn't vanish, but it changed shape. It stopped asking, am I enough? And started asking, if I am valued, how should I live? The greatest threat to faith is not doubt. It is forgetting your worth. Because when you forget it, you obey out of fear, serve out of guilt, and love out of insecurity. But when you remember it, you stand taller, you breathe deeper, you trust more. And maybe that's why the question matters. Not, do you believe in God? But, do you believe what he believes about you?